The first time they bullied the new girl, they had no idea she could break a man's spine with her bare hands. By the end of the week, the star quarterback was hospitalized, the principal's office was vandalized in blood-red paint, and the most popular girl in school received a chilling text. "You're next." But here's what no one realized. Jasmine Carter wasn't just some troubled transfer student. She was something far worse. A ghost, a weapon, a living experiment with a body count. And something will happen next in this story that you would have never imagined. From which country are you enjoying this story? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe now, because the truth about Crestwood High's most dangerous student is only getting darker.
The first time they pushed her, they didn't know she could break bones with her bare hands. The second time, they didn't care. By the third time, well, there wasn't a fourth. A hush fell over Crestwood High's crowded hallway as Jasmine Carter stepped inside. Her dark eyes swept the room, slow and calculating, like she was already measuring every exit, every threat. The whispers started instantly. "Who's the new girl? Look at her clothes. Thrift store special. Bet she's one of those scholarship cases." Nobody asked the real question. Nobody noticed the scars on her knuckles. Jasmine didn't walk like someone who wanted to fit in. She moved like a shadow, smooth, silent, impossible to pin down. Her backpack hung from one shoulder, half empty, like she didn't expect to stay long. Lydia Prescott noticed her first. Course she did. Lydia noticed everything in this school, because as far as she was concerned, Crestwood High was her kingdom. Cheer captain, student council president, daughter of the most powerful real estate developer in town. She had the kind of confidence that only came from never being told no. She nudged Tyler Boone, Crestwood star running back, and nodded toward Jasmine. "Think she's mute or something?" Tyler smirked. "Only one way to find out." Mia Chen, Lydia's ever-loyal sidekick, giggled into her manicured hand. "I give her a week before she transfers out." Jasmine heard every word. She didn't react. That was her first mistake. The bell rang, and the herd of students shuffled toward their classes. Jasmine kept her head down, her posture relaxed, but her eyes never stopped moving. She memorized faces, locker combinations, blind spots in the hallway cameras. She had a system. Always know your exits. Always know who's watching. And never, ever let them see you coming. Her first class was history. Mr. Kessler, a grizzled ex-Marine with a prosthetic leg and a no-bullshit policy, took one look at her and frowned. He didn't ask her to introduce herself to the class. He just handed her a syllabus and said, "Try to keep up." Jasmine almost smiled at that. Almost. Lunch was where things got interesting. Jasmine sat alone, picking at her food like it was a chore. The cafeteria buzzed around her, a symphony of laughter, gossip, and the occasional food fight. She didn't belong here. She didn't belong anywhere. And then Tyler Boone decided to make that everyone else's problem. He swaggered up to her table, flanked by two of his football buddies. "Hey, new girl. You don't talk much, huh?" Jasmine didn't look up. Tyler grabbed her tray and slid it away from her. "I'm talking to you." Silence. The cafeteria quieted. Even Lydia, watching from her usual table, leaned forward, her lips curling in anticipation. Jasmine finally lifted her head. Her expression was blank. "Empty. You should walk away," she said, so quietly only Tyler could hear it. He laughed. "Or what?" Jasmine stood up. And then, the first punch was a warning. A quick, sharp jab to Tyler's solar plexus that knocked the air out of him. He doubled over, gasping. The second punch was a statement. A right hook to his jaw that sent him crashing into the next table. The cafeteria erupted. Someone screamed. A teacher shouted for order. Jasmine didn't move. She just looked down at Tyler, writhing on the floor, and said, "I told you to walk away." Then she picked up her tray, sat back down, and kept eating like nothing had happened. That night, Lydia Prescott got a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, "You're next." Asterisk. She laughed, showed it to Mia. As if. The next morning, Lydia's locker was covered in blood-red paint. No fingerprints. No witnesses. Just a message. Mr. Kessler found Jasmine after school, leaning against the chain-link fence near the football field. "You're not just running from something," he said. Jasmine didn't look at him. "You're hunting," he finished. This time, she did smile. It didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe I'm both." Tyler came for her again after practice. "You think you're scary?" he spat, his jaw still bruised. "I eat little girls like you for breakfast." Jasmine didn't flinch. "Funny. I was thinking the same thing." Then, crack. One move. One dislocated shoulder. Tyler's scream echoed through the empty gym. As the school erupted in chaos, Jasmine's phone buzzed. A news alert. A photo of a younger her. A headline that changed everything. But that was just the beginning. The gym doors burst open as Coach Harris sprinted inside, his face red with panic. He took one look at Tyler writhing on the floor, his shoulder bent at an unnatural angle, and immediately reached for the walkie-talkie on his belt. "Code blue in the gymnasium. I need medical and security now." Jasmine stood perfectly still, her breathing steady, her hands loose at her sides. She watched the coach with detached interest, like she was observing an experiment rather than standing at the center of a crisis. Tyler groaned through clenched teeth. She attacked me." Coach Harris's eyes darted between them. "Is that true?" Jasmine didn't answer. The sound of running footsteps echoed down the hall. Principal Hendricks arrived first, his tie slightly askew from rushing. Two security guards followed close behind, their hands already resting on their belts like they expected violence. "What in God's name happened here?" Hendricks demanded. Tyler pointed a shaking finger at Jasmine. "She dislocated my shoulder for no reason." The principal's face darkened as he turned to Jasmine. "Miss Carter? Is this true?" Jasmine tilted her head slightly, considering the question. "He cornered me after practice. Threatened me. I defended myself. You broke my arm." Tyler shouted. "Shoulder," Jasmine corrected quietly. The principal held up a hand. "Enough. Miss Carter, you're coming with me to the office." "Tyler, the paramedics are on their way." He turned to one of the security guards. "Escort her, please." The guard reached for Jasmine's arm. She didn't resist. But as they walked past the growing crowd of students gathering outside the gym, Jasmine locked eyes with Lydia, who stood at the front of the pack, her mouth slightly open. Jasmine gave her a small, cold smile. Lydia took an involuntary step back. The principal's office smelled like lemon cleaner and stale coffee. Jasmine sat perfectly still in the hard plastic chair while Hendricks paced behind his desk, pausing occasionally to glance at the file in his hands. "Your transfer records are sparse," he said finally. Jasmine said nothing. No disciplinary history. No teacher comments. Just basic transcripts from 3 different schools over the past 2 years. He looked up. "Care to explain that?" "I move a lot." Hendricks sighed and rubbed his temples. "Miss Carter, I have a star athlete in the hospital claiming you assaulted him without provocation. I have teachers reporting you've been withdrawn in class. And now I find out you barely have an academic record at all." He leaned forward. "Who are you?" The door opened before Jasmine could answer. A tall man in a dark suit entered, his badge flashing briefly before disappearing back into his jacket. "Principal Hendricks? I'm Agent Cole with the Department of Homeland Security. I need to speak with Miss Carter alone." Hendricks blinked. "Homeland Security? Immediately, please." The principal hesitated, then stood. "Of course. I'll be right outside if—" "That won't be necessary," Agent Cole said smoothly. "This is a federal matter." When the door closed behind Hendricks, the agent turned to Jasmine. His expression didn't change, but his posture did, subtly shifting into something more alert, more dangerous. "You were supposed to keep a low profile," he said quietly. Jasmine crossed her arms. "He touched me first. That's not how this works." Agent Cole pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "We gave you a new identity, a fresh start, and in less than a week, you've already drawn attention." Jasmine's jaw tightened. "I didn't start it. You never do." He leaned forward. "Listen carefully. There are people looking for you. Dangerous people. Every time you stand out, you put yourself, and this entire operation, at risk. Outside, the school intercom crackled to life with the afternoon announcements. The sound of students laughing and lockers slamming echoed faintly through the walls. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. Jasmine looked down at her hands. What do you want me to do? Disappear, Agent Cole said. Again. Lydia Prescott wasn't used to being afraid. But as she sat in her bedroom that night, staring at the text message on her phone, asterisk your next asterisk, she felt something cold twist in her stomach. Her father's voice carried up from downstairs. Absolute madness at the school today. Some new girl put Tyler Boone in the hospital. Lydia's mother gasped. That poor boy. Who is she? Some transfer student. Jasmine Carter. The name made Lydia's breath catch. She quickly typed it into her laptop, fingers trembling slightly. Nothing came up. No social media. No news articles. Just nothing. That wasn't possible. Everyone had a digital footprint. Unless they didn't want to be found. Lydia opened a new browser window and typed something else. How to disappear completely. The search results made her blood run cold. Mr. Kessler waited until all the other teachers had left before approaching Jasmine's locker. She was stuffing books into her backpack with quick, efficient movements, not even glancing up as he stopped beside her. You're leaving, he said. It wasn't a question. Jasmine zipped her bag. Smart man. Kessler studied her face. I was in special forces for 15 years. Seen a lot of soldiers. A lot of fighters. He paused. You don't move like a soldier. Jasmine finally looked at him. No. You move like someone who was trained to survive at all costs. He lowered his voice. Who are you really? For a moment, Jasmine almost told him. Then the front doors of the school slammed open, and Agent Cole's voice echoed down the hallway. Jasmine, time to go. She shouldered her bag and walked away without another word. Kessler watched her go, his expression unreadable. The black SUV idled at the curb. Jasmine slid into the back seat without protest, her backpack clutched tightly in her lap. Agent Cole got in behind the wheel. New identity. New school. This time, try not to break anyone. Jasmine stared out the window as the school disappeared behind them. What if they follow me? They won't. How do you know? Cole's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Because we're sending them somewhere else. Jasmine turned to look at him. What does that mean? But Agent Cole didn't answer. The SUV accelerated into the night. Back at Crestwood High, Lydia Prescott stood frozen in the empty hallway, staring at Jasmine's now abandoned locker. Something glinted on the floor. She bent down and picked it up, a single dog tag on a broken chain. There was no name, just a series of numbers and letters that meant nothing to her. Yet, Lydia pocketed the tag and pulled out her phone. She had a call to make, because Jasmine Carter might be gone. But the game was just beginning. The rain started just as the SUV crossed the state line, fat drops splattering against the windshield like bullets. Jasmine watched the water distort the passing streetlights, turning them into glowing smears in the darkness. Agent Cole hadn't spoken in 43 minutes. Jasmine counted. She always counted. The numbers kept her grounded when everything else was spinning out of control. Where are we going? She asked finally. Cole adjusted the rear-view mirror. Safe house. Just for tonight. Jasmine's fingers twitched against her knees. And then we move you again. The SUV exited the highway, tires hissing on wet pavement. They passed through a run-down neighborhood, past boarded-up storefronts and flickering streetlights. The safe house was a nondescript brick building with a broken gutter that poured water onto the cracked sidewalk. Cole killed the engine. Stay here. He got out and scanned the street before opening Jasmine's door. The rain immediately soaked through her hoodie as they hurried to the entrance. The apartment smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. A single bulb flickered in the kitchen, illuminating peeling wallpaper and a stained mattress in the corner. Jasmine dropped her backpack by the door. Classy. Don't get comfortable, Cole said, checking the window. We leave at dawn. Jasmine wandered to the bathroom. The mirror was cracked, reflecting her face in jagged fragments. Dark circles under her eyes. A fresh bruise forming on her cheekbone where Tyler had grabbed her. She turned on the faucet. Rusty water sputtered out. Back in the main room, Cole was talking quietly on his phone. Contained the situation. No, she didn't say anything. Understood. He hung up and caught Jasmine watching him. "Who's looking for me?" she asked. Cole hesitated. "You know who." Jasmine's stomach twisted. "They're supposed to be dead. Some survived." The rain pounded harder on the roof. Somewhere in the building, a pipe groaned. Jasmine sat on the mattress, suddenly exhausted. How many? Enough to be dangerous. Cole took out his gun and began cleaning it with methodical precision. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long." Jasmine lay back and stared at the water stain on the ceiling. It looked like a screaming face. She closed her eyes. Lydia Prescott's hands shook as she dialed the number. 3 rings. Then a voice like gravel. "Yeah, it's me," Lydia whispered. A pause. "You shouldn't be calling this late. I found something." Lydia turned the dog tag over in her fingers. Numbers and letters. Like a code. The line went so quiet she thought the call dropped. Then, "Read them to me." Lydia did. Another long silence. Then the voice said, "Where did you get this?" "From a girl at school. She hurt Tyler Boone. Bad." Then she disappeared. The man exhaled sharply. "Listen carefully. Don't tell anyone else about this. Don't search for her. Don't say her name again. But if you want to live," the man said, "forget Jasmine Carter ever existed." The call ended. Lydia sat frozen, the dog tag burning in her palm. She'd never heard fear in her uncle's voice before. Not until tonight. Mr. Kessler sat in his dark classroom, staring at his computer screen. The search results made his blood run cold. Jasmine Carter didn't exist. Not really. The name was a ghost, attached to school records, but nothing before 6 months ago. No birth certificate. No social security number. Just like the others. He opened his desk drawer and took out a faded photograph. 5 soldiers in camouflage, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. One of them was much younger, but the eyes were unmistakable. Kessler's finger hovered over the girl at the end of the line. "Who are you?" he whispered. The safe house door burst open at 3:17 a.m. Jasmine was on her feet before the first shout, her body moving on pure instinct. Cole was already up, gun drawn. "Back door. Now." Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Jasmine grabbed her backpack and dove for the fire escape as the first shots rang out. Glass shattered. Wood splintered. Cole returned fire, his movements calm and precise. "Go. Don't stop." Jasmine swung her legs over the rusty railing just as a dark figure appeared in the doorway. She saw the glint of the muzzle, heard Cole's pained grunt. Then she was falling, rolling, running into the rain-soaked night as more gunfire echoed behind her. Lydia Prescott couldn't sleep. She sat at her computer, the dog tag on a chain around her neck, staring at the numbers she'd typed into a military database she wasn't supposed to know about. Access denied. She tried again. Access denied. On the third try, the screen changed. A single file opened. The photo showed a young girl in military fatigues, her face smudged with dirt, her eyes much older than they should have been. The name underneath made Lydia's blood turn to ice. Project Phoenix. Subject J. 427. Then the screen went black. Her computer died with a faint pop. All the lights in the house followed. Lydia sat in perfect darkness, suddenly understanding one terrible truth. Some secrets weren't meant to be found, and some people weren't meant to be saved. The storm swallowed Jasmine whole as she sprinted through the industrial district, her sneakers splashing through black puddles that smelled of oil and rust. Behind her, the safe house burned, orange flames licking at the night sky despite the pouring rain. Gunshots still echoed in the distance, but they were growing fainter now. Either Cole had taken out their pursuers, or he was dead. Jasmine didn't stop to find out which. Her ribs ached where she'd landed wrong on the fire escape. A warm trickle of blood ran down her left temple from where a bullet had grazed her. She cataloged each injury automatically, assessing damage like a machine checking its systems. Non-critical. Keep moving. The abandoned textile factory appeared through the sheets of rain like a sleeping beast. Chain-link fence. Broken windows. Graffiti tagging the crumbling brick walls. Perfect. Jasmine scaled the fence with practiced ease, the metal cold and slippery under her fingers. She dropped silently onto the other side and immediately pressed herself against the wall, listening. No footsteps, no voices, just the storm. She moved through the loading docks like a shadow, her breath steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. The factory floor was a graveyard of rusted machinery and rotting fabric bolts. Moonlight streamed through broken skylights, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Jasmine found what she needed near the old foreman's office, a payphone, miraculously intact. She lifted the receiver, dialed a number she'd memorized years ago, and waited through 7 rings before someone picked up. Sunset Diner, a bored voice answered. Booth 4, Jasmine said and hung up. She wiped the phone down with her sleeve and moved deeper into the factory. The second-floor offices still had intact doors with locks. She picked one at random and barricaded herself inside with a filing cabinet. Only then did she allow herself to slide down the wall and breathe. Her hands shook. Not from fear. Never from fear. From withdrawal. The suppressants were wearing off. Jasmine unzipped her backpack with deliberate slowness, counting each movement to keep herself focused. Inside were the essentials: protein bars, bottled water, a first aid kit, and a small black case with a biometric lock. She pressed her thumb to the scanner. The case opened with a quiet click. 3 syringes glinted in the dim light. Emergency doses. Not enough. Never enough. Jasmine rolled up her sleeve, revealing a line of faint scars along her inner arm. She didn't hesitate as she pressed the needle into her skin and depressed the plunger. Cold fire spread through her veins. Her vision sharpened. The shadows in the room became clearer, more defined. The distant sound of rats scurrying in the walls became as loud as footsteps. For a moment, just a moment, she could see the ghostly afterimages of everyone who had been in this room before her. A fat foreman smoking cigars. A secretary applying lipstick. A janitor napping in the corner. Then it passed, and Jasmine was just Jasmine again. She checked her watch. 4:23 a.m. The diner wouldn't be ready until dawn. Jasmine leaned her head against the wall and closed her eyes, listening to the storm rage outside. Lydia Prescott's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She sat on her bedroom floor, back pressed against the door, staring at the blank screen of her dead laptop. The power had come back on 20 minutes ago, but the computer remained dark no matter how many times she pressed the power button. The dog tag burned against her chest. A knock at the door made her jump. Lydia! Her mother's voice, thick with sleep. Why are you still awake? Homework. Lydia lied automatically. Just finishing up. It's 5 in the morning. Lydia swallowed hard. Couldn't sleep. A pause. Then her mother sighed. Well, get ready for school. Your father wants to talk to you before he leaves for the office. Lydia waited until her mother's footsteps faded down the hall before letting out a shuddering breath. Cool. Like she could just go to school after tonight. Like everything was normal. She looked at her reflection in the dark computer screen. Pale face. Wild eyes. Terrified. Lydia stood on wobbly legs and began getting dressed with mechanical movements. Maybe her father knew something. Maybe he could explain why Uncle Rick had sounded so afraid. Maybe. The Sunset Diner was nearly empty when Jasmine arrived at 6:15 a.m. A truck driver sat at the counter nursing coffee. An elderly couple shared pancakes in a corner booth. The air smelled like grease and maple syrup. Booth 4 was occupied by a man in a gray hoodie reading a newspaper. Jasmine slid into the seat across from him without a word. The man didn't look up. You're early. Had incentive. Jasmine kept her hands visible on the table. Finally, the man lowered his newspaper. He had a forgettable face. Medium everything, from his nose to his complexion to his build. The kind of face that disappeared in a crowd. Cole? He asked. Don't know. The man, Jasmine mentally labeled him Smith, nodded once. Safe house. Compromised. Smith sighed and folded his newspaper with deliberate care. "You're getting sloppy." Jasmine didn't rise to the bait. "I need extraction." "Not happening." Smith slid a manila envelope across the table. "New identity. Bus ticket. Cash." Jasmine didn't touch it. "That's not the deal. The deal changed when you put a high school quarterback in the hospital." Smith's voice remained calm, but his eyes hardened. "You were supposed to lay low, blend in, not draw attention." Jasmine matched his tone. "He touched me first. And the locker? The texts?" Smith shook his head. "We don't have time for your games. They're closing in." Jasmine's fingers twitched. "How many?" "Enough to be a problem." Smith glanced at the diner's entrance. "You've got 24 hours to get to the rendezvous point. After that, you're on your own." Jasmine studied Smith's face, looking for tells. The slight tick in his left eyelid. The way his fingers tapped a nervous rhythm against his coffee cup. He was scared. That was bad. Smith never got scared. Jasmine took the envelope and stood. "Tell them I want a full debrief at the rendezvous." Smith didn't answer. Jasmine didn't wait for one. Mr. Kessler arrived at school 2 hours early. The empty hallways echoed with his footsteps as he made his way to the principal's office. Hendricks was already there, looking like he hadn't slept. "You heard?" Hendricks asked by way of greeting. Kessler nodded. "About Tyler?" "Everyone's heard." "Not just that." Hendricks lowered his voice. "Jasmine Carter's records? Gone. Vanished from the system overnight. Like she never existed." Kessler kept his expression neutral. "Strange. Strange." Hendricks laughed bitterly. "Homeland Security shows up, a student disappears, and now I'm getting calls from the school board demanding I drop the whole thing." He rubbed his face. "What the hell is going on, Mike?" Kessler thought about the photograph in his desk. The young face that matched Jasmine's perfectly. "I don't know," he lied. "But I intend to find out." Lydia's father didn't look up from his newspaper as she entered the dining room. "Sit," he said. Lydia sat. Her father finally lowered the paper, revealing cold blue eyes and a carefully neutral expression. "Your uncle called me last night." Lydia's stomach dropped. "Apparently," her father continued, "you've been asking questions about a certain transfer student." Lydia's fingers found the dog tag under her blouse. "She. Don't." Her father's voice cracked like a whip. "Whatever you think you know, forget it. Whatever you found, destroy it." He leaned forward. "This isn't one of your little school dramas, Lydia. This is life and death." Lydia had never seen her father afraid before. It terrified her more than anything. "But who is she?" Lydia whispered. Her father's expression darkened. "Nothing. A ghost." He stood, folding his newspaper with sharp precision. "Go to school. Act normal. And if anyone asks, you never met Jasmine Carter." He left without another word. Lydia sat frozen at the table, the dog tag burning against her skin. A ghost. But ghosts couldn't hurt you. And Jasmine Carter? She was something much, much worse. The bus station was crowded with morning commuters when Jasmine arrived. A sea of tired faces and shuffling feet. She kept her head down as she moved through the crowd, her backpack slung over one shoulder, the manila envelope tucked securely inside her jacket. The ticket counter had a long line. Jasmine bypassed it and went straight to the self-service kiosk, tapping the screen with quick, precise movements. One-way ticket to Memphis. Leaving in 47 minutes. Gate 12. She paid in cash. The terminal smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. Jasmine found a seat near her gate but didn't sit. Instead, she leaned against the wall, positioning herself so she could see all the exits and the flow of foot traffic. Her ribs still ached from the fire escape. The bullet graze on her temple had stopped bleeding but throbbed with each heartbeat. Minor injuries. Manageable. What concerned her more was the creeping edge of withdrawal already prickling at her nerves. The emergency dose had stabilized her, but it wouldn't last. Not with her metabolism burning through the suppressants so fast. A janitor pushed a mop bucket past her station. A mother scolded her crying toddler. Two businessmen argued over a phone charger. Normal people. Normal lives. Jasmine watched them all with the detached interest of a scientist observing lab specimens. Then she saw him. A man in a navy windbreaker standing near the newsstand. Too still. Too observant. His eyes scanned the crowd with methodical precision. Left to right, near to far. Exactly how they trained her to scan a room. Jasmine didn't react. Didn't tense. She simply reached into her backpack as if searching for something and used the movement to adjust her angle, putting a group of college students between her and the watcher. When she looked again, he was gone. Not good. Jasmine checked her watch. 32 minutes until departure. She moved. Lydia Prescott's hands shook as she scrolled through her phone under the desk. The teacher droned on about Shakespeare, but the words barely registered. Her search history was a graveyard of dead ends. Project Phoenix Military. No results. J427 classified. No results. How to track someone who disappeared. Mostly conspiracy theories. She tried 6 different search engines, 3 private browsers, even the dark web tutorial she'd found on Reddit. Nothing. It was like Jasmine Carter had never existed. Except Lydia had proof. The dog tag hung heavy around her neck, hidden beneath her school uniform. She tried researching the alphanumeric code stamped into the metal, but every search came up empty or triggered security warnings. Miss Prescott. Lydia jerked her head up. The entire class was staring at her. Mrs. Green frowned. I asked for your analysis of Act 3, Scene 2. Lydia's mouth went dry. A knock at the classroom door saved her. Principal Hendricks stood in the hallway, his expression grim. Lydia, please come with me. Whispers erupted as Lydia gathered her things. Mia shot her a questioning look, but Lydia just shook her head. The hallway was eerily quiet once the door closed behind them. Your father called, Hendricks said without preamble. There's been a situation at home. Lydia's stomach twisted. What kind of situation? Hendricks wouldn't meet her eyes. He asked that you be escorted home immediately. Officer Daniels is waiting out front. Police escort? Lydia's pulse spiked. What's going on? Your father will explain. Hendricks started walking, clearly expecting her to follow. Lydia hesitated, her fingers finding the dog tag through her blouse. This wasn't about her father. This was about Jasmine. The bus station bathroom was filthy, but it had a lock on the door. Jasmine checked each stall to confirm she was alone before turning to the mirror. The face staring back at her was pale, with dark circles under her eyes and a fading bruise on one cheekbone. She looked exhausted, human. Carefully, she peeled off the blood-stained bandage at her temple. The wound beneath was shallow but angry red. She cleaned it with alcohol wipes from her kit, the sting barely registering. The manila envelope contained a new ID, Sarah Myers, age 17, a bus ticket, and $5,000 in mixed bills. No weapons. No suppressants. Standard burn protocol. Jasmine memorized the new details before burning the ID and ticket in the sink, watching the plastic curl and blacken. The ashes washed down the drain with a twist of the faucet. She kept the cash. A noise at the door made her tense. The handle jiggled. Then a fist pounded. Occupied. Jasmine called, pitching her voice higher, softer. More pounding. Maintenance. We need to clean this restroom. Jasmine's eyes flicked to the vent above the sinks. Too small. No windows. Only one exit. She palmed the scissors from her first aid kit just as the lock clicked open. The man who stepped inside wasn't maintenance. Navy windbreaker. Cold eyes. The same watcher from the terminal. J427, he said, smiling. Long time no see. Jasmine knew that voice. Knew that face. Memories flashed. Concrete walls, screaming, the smell of antiseptic. Hector. One of her old handlers. The scissors felt suddenly inadequate in her hand. Hector's smile widened as he stepped inside, letting the door swing shut behind him. You didn't really think you could run forever, did you? The police cruiser pulled up to Lydia's house to find 2 black SUVs parked in the driveway. Lydia's breath caught. What's? Stay in the car, Officer Daniels ordered, already reaching for his radio. Before he could call it in, the front door opened, and Lydia's father emerged with two men in dark suits. They were leading Uncle Rick between them, his face bloody, hands cuffed behind his back. Lydia screamed and fumbled for the door handle. Officer Daniels grabbed her arm. "Lydia, don't!" She yanked free and burst from the car just as her father spotted her. His face went pale. "Lydia! Get back inside!" One of the suits turned, and Lydia froze. Cold eyes. Expressionless face. The man reached inside his jacket. Lydia's father moved faster, stepping between them. "She doesn't know anything. You have what you came for." The suit hesitated, then slowly withdrew his empty hand. "This discussion isn't over, Mr. Prescott." They shoved Uncle Rick into one of the SUVs. Tires screeched as they pulled away, leaving Lydia standing in the driveway, shaking. Her father grabbed her shoulders. "What did you take from that girl?" Lydia's hand flew to the dog tag. Give it to me. Now." For the first time in her life, Lydia disobeyed her father. She stepped back, shaking her head. Who were those men? What's going on? Her father's face crumpled. "You don't understand what you've gotten involved in. Then explain it to me." The slap came fast and hard, snapping Lydia's head to the side. She staggered, more shocked than hurt. Her father had never hit her before. Tears burned her eyes as she touched her stinging cheek. Her father looked equally horrified, his hand still raised. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but you need to forget about that girl. Forget you ever saw her. Or next time." He swallowed hard. "Next time, those men won't ask nicely." Lydia turned and ran. The bathroom stall door shattered under Hector's kick. Jasmine was already moving, ducking under his grasping hands and driving the scissors toward his thigh. Hector twisted at the last second, taking the blade in his side instead. He grunted but didn't slow, backhanding her across the face hard enough to send her crashing into the sinks. "Still fighting, huh?" Hector wiped blood from his side, grinning. "They warned us you were unstable. Should have put you down after the last test." Jasmine spat blood and lunged again, this time going for his eyes. Hector caught her wrist and twisted, bones creaking. "You're coming back with me, J427. The director wants to have a little chat about where you've been hiding all these years." Pain shot up Jasmine's arm, but she barely registered it. Her focus narrowed to a single point, the gun holstered at Hector's hip. She let her body go limp, feigning collapse. Hector snorted. "Pathetic." As he bent to grab her, Jasmine struck like a viper, her free hand snatching the gun, her thumb flicking the safety in one smooth motion. Hector's eyes widened. Jasmine pulled the trigger. The shot echoed like thunder in the tiled room. Hector staggered back, clutching his stomach, blood seeping between his fingers. "You bitch!" Jasmine stood, leveling the gun at his head. "Tell the director I'll be seeing him soon." The second shot was louder than the first. Lydia ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. She collapsed on a park bench miles from her house, gasping for breath, tears streaming down her face. The dog tag dug into her palm where she clutched it like a lifeline. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. Asterisk, where are you? Come home now. Asterisk. Lydia turned off her phone. For the first time in her privileged, perfect life, she had no idea what to do. No script to follow. No rules to obey. Just fear. And questions. So many questions. She opened her hand and stared at the dog tag glinting in the sunlight. Jasmine Carter was out there somewhere, and Lydia was going to find her. The bus rolled through the pouring rain as Jasmine watched the city disappear behind her. The gun in her waistband pressed uncomfortably against her spine, a constant reminder of what she'd done in that bathroom. Hector's blood had been warm on her hands. She'd washed it off in the sink, changed clothes in a gas station bathroom, and boarded the first bus leaving the terminal. No destination in mind. Just movement. The suppressants were wearing off faster now. Colors seemed sharper at the edges. Sounds came through with unnatural clarity. The elderly woman snoring 3 rows back, the teenager tapping his foot in a nervous rhythm, the driver's steady breathing over the intercom. Jasmine closed her eyes and focused on counting. 1, 2, 3. The numbers anchored her as the world threatened to spiral out of control. 4, 5, 6. The bus hit a pothole, jolting her awake. Outside, the storm had worsened. Rain lashed against the windows in sheets, turning the highway into a blur of gray and black. 7, 8, 9. A child started crying somewhere near the front of the bus. The sound grated against Jasmine's nerves like sandpaper. She dug her nails into her palms, focusing on that pain instead. 10. The bus's interior lights flickered as they passed under an overpass. In that brief moment of darkness, Jasmine saw him. A man in a dark suit sitting across the aisle, watching her. Her hand flew to the gun at her back. The lights came back on. The seat was empty. Jasmine exhaled slowly. Hallucinations. That was new. The withdrawal must be progressing faster than she'd anticipated. She checked her watch. 16 hours since her last dose. She needed more. The bus's next stop was a rundown station in a town barely big enough to warrant a dot on the map. Jasmine waited until the last possible moment before disembarking, scanning the platform for threats. Nothing seemed out of place. Just a sleepy town in the middle of nowhere. The rain had slowed to a drizzle as Jasmine walked down Main Street. Closed storefronts. A single diner with flickering neon. A pharmacy. Bingo! The bell above the door jingled as she entered. The pharmacist, a balding man with thick glasses, barely looked up from his magazine. Jasmine moved through the aisles with purpose, picking up bandages, rubbing alcohol, and a bottle of aspirin as cover. Then she found what she really needed, behind the counter. "Need something for the pain," she said, sliding her purchases across the counter. The pharmacist glanced at her bruised face. "Got ID?" Jasmine pulled out the fake ID Smith had given her. Sarah Myers, age 21. Close enough. The pharmacist studied it a beat too long before nodding. "What kind of pain?" "Migraines." Jasmine forced her hands to stay still. "Bad ones." "Aha." The pharmacist turned to his shelves. "I can give you sumatriptan. Need a prescription for anything stronger." Jasmine's pulse jumped. That wouldn't work. She needed opioids. Something to take the edge off until she could get real suppressants. "Maybe something to help me sleep then?" The pharmacist gave her a knowing look but reached for a bottle of generic sleep aids. "Take one at bedtime. Don't mix with alcohol." Jasmine paid in cash and left before he could ask more questions. The sleep aids were useless, but she pocketed them anyway. Plan B would have to do. She was halfway down the block when the first black SUV rolled past. No lights. No sirens. Just dark-tinted windows moving slowly through the rain. Jasmine ducked into an alley and watched as the SUV turned the corner. They were hunting in grids. Standard search pattern. She needed to move. Lydia Prescott sat in the back of a Greyhound bus, watching her reflection warp in the rain-streaked window. The ticket had cost nearly all the cash she'd taken from her mother's purse. One way to Memphis. No plan beyond that. The dog tag rested against her collarbone, a constant weight. Her phone buzzed in her pocket for the 100th time. She didn't need to look to know it was her parents. Or the police. Or both. The bus smelled like stale chips and body odor. The man across the aisle kept glancing at her, his eyes lingering too long. Normally, Lydia would have glared back or made a scene. Now she just pulled her hood up and turned toward the window. She'd never been on a bus before. Never been anywhere without a driver or a chaperone or at least an Uber receipt. The novelty would have been exciting if not for the gnawing fear in her gut. What was she doing? The answer came immediately. Finding answers. Finding her. Jasmine Carter. The girl who wasn't supposed to exist. The motel was the kind of place that rented by the hour. Jasmine paid cash for a night and took the key without meeting the clerk's eyes. Room 17 smelled like mildew and cigarette smoke. The bedspread had suspicious stains. The bathroom light flickered. Perfect. Jasmine locked the door and wedged a chair under the handle. She checked the window, second floor, fire escape access, before finally allowing herself to breathe. The gun came out first. Hector's sidearm. Standard issue. Full magazine -2 rounds. She set it on the nightstand within easy reach. Next came inventory. $4,327 in cash. Basic medical supplies. the useless sleep aids, and the dog tag she'd taken from Hector's body. Jasmine turned the metal over in her hands. Unlike hers, Hector's had a name, a rank, official issue, proof he'd been working for the program, which meant they'd reactivated it, which meant she was in more trouble than she'd thought. A car door slammed outside. Jasmine was at the window in an instant, peering through the grimy curtains. 2 more SUVs had joined the first. Men in dark suits were fanning out, checking license plates. Too fast. They'd found her too fast. Jasmine's eyes darted to the bathroom. The vent was too small. The window led to a dead-end alley. No exit. Only one option left. She picked up the gun and waited. Lydia's bus stopped at a rundown station just after midnight. 30-minute break, the driver announced. We leave at 12:30 sharp. Lydia's legs ached from sitting. She stepped off the bus into the damp night air, stretching her arms over her head. The station was nearly deserted, just a vending machine and a single payphone. Her stomach growled. She dug out her last few dollars and approached the vending machine. The candy bar got stuck halfway. Lydia smacked the glass in frustration. Need help with that? Lydia turned to find the man from the bus standing too close. Up close, he was older than she'd thought. Maybe 40, with yellowed teeth and breath that smelled like whiskey. I'm good, she said, taking a step back. The man smiled. You shouldn't travel alone, sweetheart. Dangerous world out there. Lydia's pulse jumped. She'd dealt with creeps before, but never without the safety net of her father's name or a quick call to security. The man reached past her to bang on the vending machine. The candy bar dropped. See? He handed it to her, his fingers brushing hers too long. What's a pretty thing like you doing out here all by yourself? Lydia was considering her options. Scream, run, knee him in the groin, when a new voice cut in. She's not alone. Lydia turned. The woman standing behind them was petite, with dark hair and sharper cheekbones than Lydia remembered, but there was no mistaking those eyes. Cold, calculating, dangerous. Jasmine Carter. The motel room door exploded inward. Jasmine rolled off the bed just as the first bullets tore through the mattress. She returned fire blindly, squeezing off 3 shots toward the doorway before scrambling for the bathroom. Splinters of wood and plaster rained down as more gunfire chewed through the walls. Jasmine crouched behind the flimsy bathroom door, counting shots. 9, 10, 11. Paused to reload. She burst from cover, firing twice. One man went down clutching his throat. The other ducked behind the dresser. Jasmine didn't wait. She dove through the window just as another volley shattered the remaining glass. The fire escape rattled under her weight. Above, shouts echoed as more men poured into the room. Jasmine hit the alley running. Lydia couldn't breathe. Jasmine looked different up close. Thinner, paler, dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in weeks. But it was her. Undeniably her. The creep from the bus took a step back. This your sister or something? Jasmine didn't answer. Just stared at him with those unsettling eyes until he muttered something and shuffled away. For a long moment, the 2 girls just looked at each other. Then Jasmine said, "You shouldn't be here." Lydia found her voice. "I need to know what's going on. You need to get on that bus and go home." "I can't." Lydia touched the dog tag at her neck. "Not until you tell me what this means." Jasmine's eyes flickered to the tag. Something like pain crossed her face before it was gone. "That doesn't belong to you." "Then take it from me." Lydia lifted her chin. "If you want it so bad, come and get it." A muscle in Jasmine's jaw twitched. For a second, Lydia thought she might actually do it. Might reach out and snatch the tag right off her neck. Then distant sirens wailed, and Jasmine's head snapped up. "Too late," she murmured. Lydia followed her gaze. Black SUVs were converging on the bus station from both ends of the street. "Who are they?" Lydia whispered. Jasmine grabbed her arm. "Run." The alley dead-ended at a chain-link fence. Jasmine scaled it effortlessly, then turned to help Lydia. The girl was clumsy but determined, her designer sneakers slipping on the wet metal. On the other side, the industrial district stretched out. Warehouses, loading docks, and abandoned factories. Perfect for losing pursuers. Lydia panted as she jogged to keep up. What the hell is going on? Quiet. Jasmine pulled her into the shadow of a dumpster just as headlights swept the alley behind them. The SUVs rolled past slowly, spotlights probing the darkness. Lydia trembled beside her. Are they after you or me? Both now. Jasmine watched the taillights disappear around a corner. Thanks to you. Lydia swallowed hard. I just wanted answers. You got them. Jasmine stepped out of hiding. Now you get to live with the consequences. She started walking. After a moment's hesitation, Lydia followed. The abandoned textile mill was exactly as Jasmine remembered it. Rotting wood, broken windows, the scent of oil and decay. She picked the lock on a side door and motioned Lydia inside. The interior was pitch black. Lydia stumbled against her. I can't see. Jasmine pulled a small flashlight from her pocket. The beam revealed towering machinery draped in cobwebs, piles of moldy fabric, and a set of stairs leading to an upper office. Up there. The office had a door that locked and a view of the entire floor below. Jasmine secured the room while Lydia collapsed into a dusty chair, her breath coming in shaky gasps. You're one of them, aren't you? Lydia whispered. Those men in the suits. Jasmine didn't answer. Just checked the guns magazine. 3 rounds left. Lydia touched the dog tag again. This is yours, isn't it? You dropped it at school. Jasmine's hand stilled. It's not mine. Then whose is it? The answer came from the darkness below. Hers. Jasmine spun, gun raised, as a figure stepped into the flashlight's beam. Mr. Kessler. His face was grim as he raised his hands. Hello. J427. Long time no see. The flashlight's beam trembled in Lydia's grip as Mr. Kessler took another step forward. Jasmine's gun didn't waver, aimed squarely between his eyes. You followed us, Jasmine said flatly. Kessler kept his hands visible. Had to. You're getting sloppy. Lydia looked between them, heart pounding. You know each other? A ghost of a smile crossed Kessler's face. You could say that. Jasmine's finger tightened on the trigger. Why are you here? Same reason as you. Kessler nodded to the dog tag around Lydia's neck. That belongs to subject J426. Your sister. The words hit like a physical blow. Jasmine's breath caught, just for a second, but it was enough. Kessler saw it. Lydia's mouth fell open. Sister. The flashlight beam flickered as the batteries began to die. In the wavering light, Jasmine's face looked carved from stone. She's dead. Kessler shook his head slowly. That's what they told you. Below them, in the depths of the factory, a metal door screeched open. Voices echoed through the cavernous space. They're here, Kessler whispered. Jasmine moved instantly, killing the flashlight and pulling Lydia down behind a filing cabinet. Kessler dropped beside them just as spotlights swept across the upper windows. 3 teams, Jasmine murmured, peering through a crack in the boards. Standard sweep pattern. Lydia's entire body shook. Who are they? The people who made me. Jasmine checked the gun's chamber. Stay quiet. Stay down. Boots pounded up the metal stairs. Kessler pressed a knife into Lydia's hand. She hadn't even seen him draw it. The door burst open. Jasmine fired twice. 2 men dropped. Chaos erupted. Kessler grabbed Lydia and shoved her toward a back exit as gunfire filled the room. Jasmine covered their retreat, moving with lethal precision. They crashed through a fire door and onto the roof just as more shouts came from below. The rain had returned in force, sheeting down in icy waves. We need to split up, Kessler yelled over the storm. Jasmine shook her head. They'll catch her in minutes. Then give me the tag. Lydia clutched the metal disc to her chest. No. Not until someone tells me what the hell is going on. A bullet ricocheted off the vent beside them. Time was up. Jasmine made a decision. She grabbed Lydia's arm and sprinted for the roof's edge. Jump! The gap to the next building was at least 8 feet. Lydia froze. I can't. Jasmine didn't give her a choice. She hurled them both across the void. They hit the adjacent roof hard, sliding across wet tar paper. Kessler landed beside them with a grunt. The pursuing agents weren't so lucky. The first missed entirely, plummeting 3 stories to the alley below. The second made the jump but slipped on landing. Jasmine put a bullet in his head before he could rise. Lydia vomited over the roof's edge. Jasmine didn't wait for her to recover. Move. The abandoned subway tunnel smelled of urine and damp concrete. Lydia's teeth chattered as they navigated the pitch-black passage, guided only by Kessler's penlight. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "Somewhere safe," Kessler said. Jasmine snorted. "Nowhere's safe." They emerged in a derelict station, its tiled walls covered in graffiti. Kessler pried open a maintenance door to reveal a hidden room. Bunk beds, canned food, weapons lockers. A safe house. Lydia collapsed onto a cot, her soaked clothes clinging to her skin. "Please, just tell me what's happening." Kessler lit a kerosene lamp. The flickering light deepened the scars on his face. Project Phoenix was a Black Ops program. They took orphans, runaways, kids no one would miss, and turned them into weapons. Jasmine stood by the door, listening for pursuers. Her silence was confirmation. Lydia touched the dog tag. And this? Belonged to Subject J426. Jasmine's twin. Kessler rummaged in a footlocker and produced a faded photograph. "See for yourself." The image showed 2 identical girls, no older than 12, in military fatigues. Their faces were blank, their eyes dead. Lydia's stomach twisted. "Oh my God!" The program was shut down after an incident. Kessler glanced at Jasmine. Most subjects were terminated. A few escaped. Jasmine finally spoke. "They lied to us. Told us the others died in training. But your sister survived? Until today, I thought she was dead." Jasmine's voice was hollow. "They must have kept her alive. Continued the experiments." Kessler nodded grimly. "And now they're reactivating the program. Recapturing escaped subjects. Starting fresh with the old DNA samples." Lydia's blood ran cold. "DNA samples?" A loud bang echoed through the tunnels. All 3 froze. "They're here," Jasmine whispered. Kessler moved to the weapons locker. "Take Lydia and go. I'll hold them off." Jasmine hesitated. "You'll die. Better me than both of you." He tossed her a set of keys. "Sewer access leads to the river. Boats moored at Pier 7. Another bang. Closer this time. Lydia stood, legs shaking. "I'm not leaving without answers." "You have your answer." Kessler pressed the photo into her hand. "Now run." Jasmine grabbed Lydia's arm and hauled her toward a rear tunnel just as the door exploded inward. Gunfire lit up the dark. Lydia's last glimpse of Kessler was him standing tall, a rifle in each hand, facing down the storm of bullets. Then the darkness swallowed them whole. The river stank of pollution and rotting fish. The stolen motorboat puttered through the fog as Jasmine navigated by memory alone. Lydia huddled in the bow, the dog tag clenched so tight it drew blood. "He's dead, isn't he?" Jasmine didn't answer. Rain dripped from the sky like tears. The city lights blurred in the distance. After an hour, Jasmine cut the engine and let the current take them. She rummaged under a seat and produced a first aid kit and a small metal case. Lydia watched as Jasmine prepared a syringe with practiced hands. "What is that?" "Suppressants." Jasmine rolled up her sleeve, revealing track marks along her inner arm. "Keeps the enhancements in check." "Enhancements?" Jasmine injected the clear liquid with a hiss. "Heightened senses. Faster healing. Increased strength." She met Lydia's eyes. "They made us into monsters." The boat rocked gently. Somewhere downstream, a foghorn moaned. Lydia studied the photograph again. The 2 identical girls with empty eyes. "What happened to her?" "To your sister." Jasmine's voice was barely audible over the water. "She tried to escape. They made me watch as they punished her. And now I find her." Jasmine's hands clenched. "Or what's left of her." Lydia swallowed hard. "I'm coming with you." "No. You owe me." Jasmine laughed bitterly. "I owe you nothing. You do." Lydia lifted the dog tag. Because I know where she is. Jasmine went very still. What? The numbers on this tag. I couldn't find anything online, but before my computer died. Lydia took a deep breath. I saw coordinates. The boat drifted in silence for a long moment. Then Jasmine reached for the oars. Where? Lydia told her. The location was familiar. A government black site. The place where it all began. The chain-link fence stretched into the darkness, topped with razor wire and warning signs that promised lethal force to trespassers. Jasmine crouched in the underbrush, counting the guard patrol patterns. Every 6 minutes, a new sweep. Lydia shivered beside her, her breath fogging in the cold night air. This is insane. Jasmine didn't respond. Her focus remained locked on the compound beyond the fence, a cluster of nondescript buildings that didn't appear on any official maps. The coordinates from the dog tag had led them here, to a stretch of government-owned land in the middle of nowhere. The last place she ever wanted to see again. Lydia fidgeted with the dog tag around her neck. How do we even know she's in there? They kept samples on all of us, Jasmine said quietly. Blood, tissue, neural scans. If she's alive, she's here. A guard passed by, his flashlight beam cutting through the trees. Jasmine pressed Lydia down until the light moved on. We should wait for daylight, Lydia whispered. Jasmine shook her head. Security doubles during the day. This is our only window. She reached into her pack and pulled out the item she'd stolen during their stop at an army surplus store. Wire cutters, black clothing, a stolen security badge from the boat dock. Lydia's eyes widened. You're actually going in there. You're staying here. No way. Lydia grabbed her arm. I didn't come this far to sit in the bushes. Jasmine's grip tightened on the wire cutters. You'll get killed. And you won't. A beat of silence. The wind rustled the leaves around them. Jasmine exhaled sharply. Stay close. Do exactly what I say. She moved before Lydia could respond, darting to the fence and cutting a small hole near the base. The wires parted with quiet snips. One by one they crawled through. The compound was eerily quiet. Jasmine led them from shadow to shadow, avoiding the security cameras with practiced ease. Lydia stumbled over something soft, a dead rabbit, its neck twisted at an unnatural angle. She barely stifled a gasp. Jasmine didn't pause. Don't touch anything. They reached the main building without incident. The door was locked with a keypad. Jasmine hesitated, then punched in a code from memory. The light turned green. Lydia stared. How did you? Birthday, Jasmine muttered, pushing inside. The hallway beyond was dimly lit, lined with doors marked only with numbers. The air smelled like antiseptic and something faintly metallic. Blood. Jasmine's muscles coiled tight. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but she forced herself forward. The first room held medical equipment, vials of drugs, surgical tools, machines with blinking lights. The second was a monitoring station, screens showing empty cells. The third door was different, heavier, reinforced. Jasmine's hand hovered over the handle. Then the screaming started. A raw, guttural sound that tore through the silence like a knife, coming from the end of the hall. Lydia went pale. What is that? Jasmine was already moving. The observation window revealed a scene from Nightmares. A girl, no older than 16, strapped to a metal table, convulsing as electricity arced through her body. Her shrieks echoed through the glass. Two men in lab coats watched dispassionately, taking notes. Lydia gagged. Oh God! Jasmine's entire body went rigid. Because the girl on the table wasn't her sister. But she recognized her all the same. Subject J419. Call sign Sparrow. One of their own. Jasmine's vision tunneled. The suppressants in her system barely held back the rage threatening to consume her. Lydia grabbed her arm. We have to help her. Before Jasmine could respond, a new voice crackled over the intercom. Phase 2 complete. Prep J426 for final testing. J426. Her sister. Jasmine turned toward the sound like a predator catching scent. Change of plans, she whispered. The lower levels were colder, the air thick with the scent of bleach and something darker. Decay. Jasmine moved like a ghost, disabling cameras as they went. Lydia struggled to keep up, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. A door hissed open ahead. They ducked into an alcove just as two orderlies wheeled a gurney past. The shape beneath the sheet was too small to be an adult. Lydia squeezed her eyes shut. Jasmine waited until the coast was clear, then continued down the hall. The numbers on the doors counted down as they descended deeper into the facility. J430, J429, J428. Then, at last, J426. Jasmine's hand shook as she reached for the keypad. The door slid open with a hiss. The room beyond was small, sterile, empty save for a single bed, and the figure curled in the corner. A girl with long, matted hair and hollow cheeks. Her arms were covered in scars and fresh needle marks. She didn't look up as they entered. Jasmine's breath caught. Lena! The girl's head snapped up. Her eyes, the same dark brown as Jasmine's, widened in recognition. Then terror. No, she whispered, scrambling backward. You're not real. They're making me see you again. Jasmine stepped forward, hands raised. It's me. I'm real. Lena shook her head violently. They always say that before the pain starts. Lydia made a small, wounded noise in her throat. Jasmine knelt, moving slowly. Remember our promise? The tree by the river. A flicker of confusion crossed Lena's face. That was real? The willow with the broken branch. We carved our initials. On the north side. Lena's voice cracked. Where no one could see. Jasmine reached out. Their fingers touched, and the alarms began to blare. Red lights strobed through the hallway as the intercom blared. Security breach in Sector J. All personnel to stations. Lena panicked, curling into a ball. They'll punish me. They always punish me. Jasmine hauled her to her feet. Not this time. They burst into the hallway just as armed guards rounded the corner. Jasmine shoved Lydia and Lena back into the room as bullets tore into the wall where they'd been standing. Stay down. She returned fire, taking out two guards before ducking behind cover. More shouts echoed down the corridor. Reinforcements. They were trapped. Lydia grabbed her arm. There. A ventilation grate near the ceiling, just big enough to crawl through. Jasmine didn't hesitate. She yanked the cover off and boosted Lydia up first, then helped her sister. Lena moved like a broken marionette, all jerky, uncoordinated limbs. The door burst open as Jasmine pulled herself into the duct. A bullet grazed her calf, but she barely felt it. The ductwork was a tight, claustrophobic maze. They crawled blindly, following the faint drafts of outside air. Lena whimpered with every movement. They took my left kidney last week, she gasped. For testing. Lydia sobbed quietly behind them. Jasmine's vision went red at the edges. The suppressants were failing. Rage burned through her veins like acid. A shaft of moonlight appeared ahead, an exhaust vent leading outside. Freedom. Then the duct beneath them collapsed. They crashed down into another laboratory, surrounded by glass tanks filled with floating, lifeless shapes. Clones. Dozens of them. All with Jasmine's face. Lydia screamed. Lena collapsed, shaking. They never stopped. They kept making us better versions. Obedient versions. Boots pounded toward the door. Jasmine scanned the room desperately. There had to be an emergency shower in the corner, with a drain in the floor. She wrenched the cover off just as the door burst open. Go! She shouted, shoving Lydia and Lena toward the opening. The first guard through the door took a bullet to the throat. The second got two in the chest. Then the gun clicked empty. Jasmine reached for another weapon, anything, as more guards poured in. A dart struck her neck. Then another. The world tilted. The suppressants in her system reacted violently with whatever they'd shot her with. Fire spread through her veins. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was Lena being dragged away, screaming her name. And Lydia, watching in horror from the drain tunnel. Alone. The restraints cut into Jasmine's wrists as the drugs wore off, leaving her mouth dry and her head pounding. The room swam into focus. White walls, fluorescent lights, the acrid smell of disinfectant burning her nose. A familiar room. The same one they'd always used for discipline. Her arms were secured to the chair with reinforced cuffs, legs bolted to the floor.
4 lines snaked from both arms, one pumping in clear fluids, the other drawing blood in steady pulses. Across from her, a man in a white coat studied a tablet, his back turned.
Jasmine would recognize that balding spot anywhere. Dr. Voss.
Her voice came out raspy, amused.
The doctor turned, his glasses glinting under the harsh lights. Subject J. 427. Awake at last. Jasmine tested her restraints. No give. Where's my sister? Safe. Voss set the tablet aside. You've caused quite a stir, haven't you? Breaking into a classified facility. Killing 6 guards. Should have been more. Voss sighed, like a disappointed parent. Still defiant after all these years. I'd hoped time might have mellowed you. Jasmine bared her teeth. Disappointed. Actually, fascinated. Voss picked up a syringe from the tray beside him. Your blood work shows remarkable adaptations since you escaped. Enhanced cellular regeneration. Increased neural activity. He tapped the syringe. We'll need to harvest the samples before termination, of course. The door hissed open before Jasmine could respond. A woman in a military uniform entered, her posture rigid, her eyes cold. Colonel Riggs, the architect of Project Phoenix. Jasmine's muscles locked. Memories flooded back, the punishments, the isolation tanks, the way Riggs would smile when a subject broke. Still alive, J427? Riggs circled the chair like a shark. I'm surprised. Most escapees don't last 6 months without our maintenance. Jasmine spat at her feet. Riggs backhanded her across the face. The impact snapped Jasmine's head to the side, blood filling her mouth. Where is the Prescott girl? Riggs demanded. Jasmine smiled with red-stained teeth. Gone. Wrong answer. Riggs nodded to Voss. Prep her for neural extraction. We'll pull the memories directly. Voss hesitated. Colonel, the procedure is... Do it. As Voss prepped the machines, Riggs leaned close, her breath hot against Jasmine's ear. You'll see your sister one last time before you die. Consider that my mercy. The door slammed behind her. Voss adjusted the 4-drip. This will hurt, he said, almost apologetically. Jasmine closed her eyes as the pain began. Lydia crouched in the storm drain, her knees pulled to her chest, listening to the shouts and sirens above. The tunnel stank of mildew and rust, the cold water soaking through her shoes.
She'd lost them in the maze of underground passages, but it was only a matter of time before they brought dogs.
Or worse. Lena's screams still echoed in her skull. Asterisk, they'll punish me. They always punish me. Asterisk. A rat scurried past, making Lydia flinch. She fumbled for the dog tag, her only proof this wasn't some horrific nightmare. The metal was warm against her palm. She had to get help, had to tell someone. But who would believe her? The police? The media? Her father had warned her, some secrets weren't meant to be known. A scraping sound came from further down the tunnel. Lydia froze. Footsteps, splashing through the shallow water. She pressed herself against the curved wall, heart hammering. The footsteps grew closer, slowed, stopped. A beam of light cut through the darkness. There you are. Lydia nearly sobbed in relief. Mr. Kessler? The teacher limped into view, his face bruised, his clothes torn and bloody, but alive. Come on, he said, offering a hand. We don't have much time. The neural extraction felt like having her skull split open with a hot poker. Jasmine arched against the restraints as electricity arced through her brain, her muscles seizing. The machine beeped steadily, stealing her memories one by one. Voss monitored the screens with clinical detachment. Fascinating. The hippocampus is fighting the extraction. I've never seen neural activity like this. Jasmine barely heard him over the white noise filling her head. Images flashed behind her eyes. Lena laughing by the river. The first time they made her kill. The look on Kessler's face when he realized what she was. The machine beeped faster. Voss frowned. That's odd. There's some kind of... The power went out. Emergency lights flickered on, casting the room in eerie red. Alarms wailed in the distance. Voss reached for his radio. Security report. Static. The door burst open. A guard stumbled in, clutching a bleeding stomach wound. Doctor, we're under attack. He collapsed. Voss paled. A figure stepped over the guard's body. Lena, but different. Her eyes burned with a fire Jasmine hadn't seen in years. In her hand, a scalpel dripping blood. "Hello, doctor," Lena whispered. "Miss me?" Voss backed away. "Subject J426. You're not cleared for." Lena moved like lightning. The scalpel flashed. Voss gasped, clutching his throat as blood poured between his fingers. He collapsed to his knees, then face-first onto the floor. Lena didn't watch him die. She was already at Jasmine's side, slicing through the restraints with practiced ease. "Sis," Jasmine croaked. Lena hauled her upright. "Don't talk. The neural extraction did damage. Can you walk?" Jasmine tried. Her legs buckled. Lena caught her. "Okay. New plan." She dragged Jasmine to a supply cart and dumped out the contents. "Get in." It was a tight fit, but Jasmine managed to fold herself into the metal cart just as footsteps pounded down the hall. Lena threw a sheet over her and started pushing. "Stop!" A guard blocked their path, rifle raised. "Where are you taking that?" Lena didn't hesitate. "Colonel's orders. Contaminated materials to incinerator." The guard hesitated. Lena smiled sweetly. "You can call her if you want, but you know how she feels about delays." The guard paled and stepped aside. They made it 3 more checkpoints that way before reaching a service elevator. Lena punched the button for the lowest level. As the doors closed, Jasmine pushed back the sheet. "How did you?" "Kessler." Lena's hands shook. "He got word to me weeks ago that you were alive. That you were coming." The elevator descended. Jasmine gripped her sister's arm. "Lena, what they did to you." Lena's smile was brittle. "I remember the willow tree. That's what kept me sane." The doors opened to chaos. Smoke filled the basement level.
Sprinklers rained down as armed figures in black moved through the haze, engaging security forces. A rebellion. Lena dragged Jasmine behind a stack of crates as gunfire erupted. Kessler's people. Ex-military. They'd been smuggling weapons in for months. Jasmine's vision swam. The neural extraction had taken more than she realized. "Lydia?" "Safe. For now." Lena checked the ammo in her stolen pistol. "We're getting out of here. All of us." A bullet shattered the crate above their heads. Lena returned fire. "But first, we kill Riggs." Kessler led Lydia through a maze of service tunnels, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. "Who are these people?" Lydia whispered. "Friends." Kessler's limp had gotten worse. Blood soaked through his makeshift bandage. People who knew the truth about Project Phoenix and did nothing. Now they're making amends. The tunnel opened into a parking garage. A van idled in the shadows, its headlights off. The side door slid open as they approached. Lydia hesitated. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe." Kessler winced as he climbed in. "We have to move before." Gunfire erupted from above. Concrete chips rained down as bullets strafed the garage. Kessler shoved Lydia into the van. "Go! Now!" The tires screeched as they peeled out. Lydia caught a glimpse of black-clad figures rappelling from the upper levels before the van rounded a corner and the facility disappeared from view. In the back seat, a woman with short-cropped hair handed Lydia a phone. "Call your parents." Lydia recoiled. "What? No." The woman's expression softened. "Not to talk. To let them hear your voice. So they know you're alive." Lydia took the phone with trembling fingers. She dialed her home number and held it to her ear. One ring. "Ooh." Her mother answered,
voice raw with tears. "Hello? Lydia?" Lydia said nothing. Just breathed. "Baby, if you can hear me, we didn't know. Your father didn't know what they were doing there. Please, just come home. We'll protect you." Lydia hung up. The woman took the phone back. "Good. Now they'll fight harder to keep this quiet." The van accelerated onto the highway, leaving the nightmare behind. For now. Riggs' office was exactly as Jasmine remembered. Sparse, efficient, the only personal touch a framed photo on the desk. A photo of a much younger Riggs standing beside two little girls in matching dresses. Jasmine and Lena, the first test subjects. Riggs stood at the window, watching the facility burn. She didn't turn as they entered. "I always wondered which of you would come for me," she said calmly. "Had bets on it being J427. She was always the violent one." Lena leveled her pistol. "You took 8 years of my life, and gave you purpose." Riggs finally turned, her hands clasped behind her back. "You were orphans. Street rats. I made you legends." Jasmine leaned against the doorframe, her vision still blurry. "You made us monsters." Riggs smiled. "I made you perfect." Lena's finger tightened on the trigger. Riggs didn't flinch. "Kill me, and you'll never find the others." Jasmine stiffened. "Others? The new generation." Riggs tapped her desk console. The wall screen lit up, showing rows of incubation pods. Each held a small, floating figure. Clones. Dozens of them. "Project Phoenix rises again," Riggs said. "With improvements, of course. No rebellious tendencies. No inconvenient memories." Lena's gun wavered. Jasmine stepped forward. "Where?" Riggs laughed. "As if I'd tell you." The window behind her shattered as a sniper round took her square in the forehead. Riggs crumpled without another word. Jasmine spun to see Kessler lowering his rifle from the opposite roof. Lena stared at Riggs' body. "We should have made it slower." Jasmine grabbed her sister's arm. "Come on. We have work to do." As they ran through the burning facility, Jasmine made herself a promise. She would find those clones, and she would burn Project Phoenix to the ground. For good. The safe house smelled of stale coffee and gun oil. Lydia sat curled on a threadbare couch, watching rain streak down the grimy windows. 3 weeks had passed since the facility burned, but the nightmares hadn't stopped. Across the room, Kessler spread a map across the table, his movements stiff from healing wounds. "The clones were moved before we hit the facility. Satellite shows possible locations." "Wait." Lydia's voice cracked. She held up the dog tag. "Before we go further, I need to understand." Jasmine and Lena exchanged glances. The twins looked more alike now that Lena had regained some weight, though Lena's eyes still held a hollow emptiness Jasmine's didn't. Kessler sighed. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." 16 years earlier. The orphanage director never checked the paperwork when Colonel Riggs came to collect the twins. The girls were problem children anyway. Violent, disruptive, too smart for their own good. No one asked why a military officer wanted 2 6-year-olds. The first year was tests. Needles. Scans. Painful injections that made their bones ache. The second year was training. How to fight. How to kill. How to withstand torture. The third year was when the real changes started. Lena woke screaming as her cells mutated, her small body rejecting the experimental serums. Jasmine held her through the seizures, whispering promises against her sweat-damp hair. Asterisk, "We'll escape. We'll find the willow tree again." Asterisk. But the willow tree was gone. Bulldozed for a Project Phoenix expansion. By year 5, they had numbers instead of names. J426. J427. Perfect little weapons. Present day. Lydia wiped her eyes. And the clones. Jasmine's jaw tightened. Backups. In case we died or malfunctioned. Kessler tapped the map. "We've tracked transport manifests here, and..." A knock at the door silenced him. Everyone froze. Jasmine drew her pistol and moved to the peephole. Then, impossibly, she laughed. She opened the door to reveal a scowling Mia Chen, drenched from the storm, her designer backpack soaked through. Lydia shot to her feet. "Mia!" Mia shoved a tablet at them. "You're welcome." The screen showed blueprints, a hidden facility beneath a private military contractor's headquarters. "The clones are there," Mia said. "And my uncle is the CEO." Lena's eyes narrowed. "Why help us?" Mia looked at Lydia. "Because she's my best friend. And you assholes got her involved in this mess." A beat of silence. Then Kessler started packing weapons. 1 week later, the infiltration went smoother than expected. Mia's security codes got them through the front gates. Kessler's contacts disabled the alarms. Jasmine and Lena handled the rest with brutal efficiency. They found the clones in a sterile white room, row after row of small bodies floating in tanks, identical faces peaceful in suspension. Lydia pressed a hand to the glass. "They're just children." Jasmine checked her ammunition. Not for long. The explosives were Kessler's idea. "Burn it all," he'd said. "No evidence. No loose ends." Lena hesitated by one tank. The clone inside couldn't have been older than 8. Her face was unmarked by scars or pain. Jasmine joined her. "We can't save them." "I know." Lena placed her palm against the glass. "But we can spare them." The detonator clicked at dawn. The fireball lit up the morning sky. Epilogue. The willow tree had regrown over the years, its branches stretching toward the river where 2 little girls once played. Lydia placed the dog tag in its roots. "Is this really over?" Jasmine watched the water ripple. "For us, yes." Lena tied a scrap of red cloth around a branch, a tradition from their childhood. A wish for luck. Kessler limped up the path, his duffel bag packed. Transports waiting. New identities. Fresh starts. Mia checked her phone. "My parents are freaking out." Again. Lydia smiled. "Tell them you're studying abroad." They stood in silence as the wind rustled the leaves. Then Jasmine turned away. "Come on. The world's waiting." And for the first time in their lives, it truly was.